The historic streets of Paris were bustling with life as Emma and her loyal German shepherd, Jeff, strolled down narrow cobblestone alleys, marveling at the city's charm. They had been exploring museums, cafes, and bookshops, immersing themselves in the rich culture. But Emma couldn't have predicted what the city had in store for them next. One afternoon, they wandered into a small antique shop tucked away in a forgotten corner of the city. The shop was dimly lit, its shelves filled with dusty books, strange trinkets, and yellowed maps. As Emma browsed through a stack of old papers, something caught her eye, a tattered map, hand-drawn and filled with winding passages. Intrigued, Emma examined it closer. "The catacombs of Paris," she murmured, reading the faded label on the map. But this wasn't the usual map of the catacombs that tourists sometimes explored. This map led to places deep beneath the city, passages marked with symbols and mysterious markings. Jeff sniffed at the map, nudging Emma with his nose, as if urging her to investigate. She smiled, excited by the possibility of an adventure. She purchased the map, and with Jeff by her side, she set off toward one of the entrances to the catacombs, curious to see where this forgotten map would lead them. After locating the entrance, they descended a narrow spiral staircase, the stone steps echoing beneath their feet. The air grew colder, and the faint smell of damp earth and old stone filled the passageway. Jeff was alert, his ears perked up, his nose twitching as he took in the unfamiliar scents. "Let's see where this leads us, Jeff," Emma whispered, her voice reverberating through the quiet tunnels. They walked carefully, using a flashlight to guide their way as they followed the lines on the map. The catacombs were quiet, the sound of dripping water and distant echoes giving the place an eerie atmosphere. It didn't take long for Emma to realize that the map was leading them deeper than the usual tourist routes. As they moved further into the maze, Jeff's ears suddenly flattened, and he let out a low growl. Emma stopped, shining her flashlight around. The beam illuminated a carved symbol on the wall, a triangle with an eye in the center, ancient and ominous. She brushed her fingers over the stone, realizing this was one of the symbols marked on the map. "This is more than just an old map," Emma murmured. "I think we've stumbled upon something important." They continued, following the twists and turns of the tunnels. The deeper they went, the stranger the place felt. There were hidden alcoves filled with crumbling statues, walls etched with Latin phrases, and carvings of symbols that seemed to tell a story, one of secret gatherings, conspiracies, and hidden knowledge. Suddenly, Emma heard a faint click beneath her foot. Jeff barked sharply, nudging her backward just as the ground shifted, revealing a hidden trap. A section of the floor fell away, exposing a deep pit lined with sharp rocks below. Emma's heart pounded. "Good save, Jeff. I didn't even see that." Jeff wagged his tail, his eyes focused as he sniffed the air, leading them carefully around the pit. She knew now that they were dealing with more than just a maze. This place was filled with hidden traps and tricks, designed to keep intruders out. She couldn't help but wonder, what was so important that it had to be protected so fiercely? As they ventured further, they found themselves at a dead end with an intricate carving of the same triangle and eye symbol they'd seen earlier. Jeff pawed at it, barking softly. Emma examined the carving, noticing a small, round indentation in the center. She pulled out a coin she'd found earlier, a strange old relic with the same symbol, and placed it in the indentation. With a low rumble, the wall shifted, revealing a hidden doorway. They stepped inside, finding themselves in a large chamber filled with ancient relics, books, documents, and strange artifacts that looked centuries old. The walls were lined with paintings depicting robed figures gathered in candlelit rooms, passing secrets among themselves. Emma's eyes widened as she realized they had discovered something monumental. "This must be where an old secret society met," she whispered, her voice hushed with awe. But as they explored the room, Emma noticed that some of the documents were missing. Dusty outlines on the shelves suggested that someone else had been here recently, and taken things. Suddenly, they heard voices and footsteps echoing down the corridor outside the chamber. Emma's heart raced. She and Jeff quickly ducked behind a stack of crates, watching as two shadowy figures entered the room. The men spoke in hushed tones, examining the shelves with flashlights. "We have to find it," one of them muttered. "It's said to contain evidence of our organization's true origins. If anyone else finds it." The other nodded, his face hidden in the shadows. "This information is priceless. No one else must know." Emma held her breath, realizing they were dealing with modern-day members of the same secret society. Jeff's body was tense, his eyes focused on the men as he stayed perfectly still beside her. The men searched for several minutes, taking a few more items before exiting the chamber. Once their footsteps faded, Emma and Jeff emerged from their hiding spot. "We have to get out of here," Emma whispered. "If they realize we're down here, we might never find our way out." They retraced their steps, Jeff's nose leading the way as he navigated the labyrinth with ease. Several times, he stopped to warn her of hidden pressure plates or to guide her around dead ends. He seemed to sense the layout of the maze, his instincts guiding them through the darkness. As they neared the surface, Emma noticed something familiar, a set of symbols she had seen on a map she'd examined in the chamber below. Realizing their importance, she quickly jotted them down, understanding that they might hold the key to the secret society's past. Finally, they reached the narrow spiral staircase that led back up to the surface. Emma sighed in relief as she climbed up the steps, Jeff trotting close behind her. The sunlight felt warm and comforting after the cold, dark tunnels of the catacombs. Once outside, Emma found a quiet cafe where she could study the symbols she'd copied. She noticed they seemed to align with certain locations in the city, places where important decisions had been made centuries ago. She realized she had uncovered a centuries-old conspiracy, one that had influenced the course of history from the shadows. Emma looked down at Jeff, who was watching her intently. "I think we've uncovered something bigger than we expected, Jeff. This secret society has been shaping history from below our feet for centuries." She knew she couldn't share all of what she'd found, not yet. But as she and Jeff walked through the bustling streets of Paris, she felt a deep sense of awe. The ancient catacombs held secrets that few people would ever know, and she was one of the lucky few who had glimpsed them. As they walked away, Emma glanced back at the hidden entrance they'd discovered, knowing that she and Jeff would always have a piece of Paris that belonged to them alone,